What's good, beautiful people? It's your main man, Big G, here on Industry Talk, and welcome to Primetime Pod, the hottest information resource outlet for all things entertainment, breaking news, celebrity interviews, and the hot topics of the day. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms, our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, you name it, we're on it. Just Google us. Boss Talk Podcast 101 Primetime.
Okay. And he got prime time vibe. Make sure you check it
How? Why the fuck you think he missing? He say that.
And Centerville a whole lot.
Now I'm not trying to get a little messy with you.
Time is money.
They go trap.
What's good? What's good? What's good, beautiful people? What's good? What it do, J Rock? See you in the place to be. We'll see you in the place to be. What's going on, my brother? What's going on? Look here. Got a lot to cover today. Happy to be here over the last couple of weeks. Um, we've been giving you production, some of the things that we've been working on in our camp. We gave you Going Nowhere Fast, one of our movie productions, and Whole Problems, um, produced by Coach Malachi, my brother out of Tampa. So today I'm back in your face live. Got an awesome conversation that I'm gonna get into today with Greg Commander out of High Point, North Carolina, and he's got a great story, an awesome story. His trials, tribulations, things that he's gone through, and I'm looking forward to jumping into discussion with him about what he's got going on with his mentor program out in North Carolina and some of the things that he had to go through. High Point, the original Juice Crew, um, served a little time for conspiracy and narcotics um, trafficking, but I'm gonna let him tell his story. But we're gonna get into it. It's going to be something insightful. So, um, to give you a little rundown on some of the things that's happening, uh, our brother Jarrell, comedian Jarrell Braswell, is hitting the scene real heavy, real hot and heavy. He's been out on the road with Bubba Dub, um, being being a great ambassador for our program, doing his thing. You see him with Mike Epps, Lil Duval, Tony Roberts, Bubba Dub, like I say, G Mac and the whole crew out there putting in that work. Um, Great photography, great video production. They're on the scene, and it's happening. You can see it right before your eyes. Braswell is an A1 comedian, and his time is now, and he's taking full advantage of everything that's being brought to the table for him. So big shout out to my man Jarrell Braswell, comedian Jarrell Braswell. We have we have some things in the works with uh, my brother Blood Raw, with some skits and some movie situations that we're working on with G Mac, um, Sink or Swim, of course. Some of our comedic skits that we're working on. We've got the casting call in place now. I'm looking for talent that is interested in participating in some of the things that we have coming down the pipeline. But just think about it. We've got Hoochie Man James, T Skates, Blood Raw, and an assorted cast of characters and individuals that are going to be enjoying their time with us as we film and produce some of the things that we've got in line. But just to drop a few of the individuals that will be participating, it's going to be off the chain. It's going to be fun as hell. So I'm looking forward to it. And if I'm not mistaken, uh, Braswell will be heading to Los Angeles for April 4th for the We the Ones tour out there with Bubba Dub putting in that work. G Mac's gonna be touching down in the area as well. It's gonna be it's gonna be something to see, man. It's happening right before your eyes, and like I said, jump on the train because we're already moving, but it's moving at a pace to where you can still get a foothold and catch wind of everything that's going on with some of these phenomenal guys that we're doing business with. Like I said, we have my man Greg Commander that I'll be talking with in just a little bit. Um, um, I was introduced to Greg Commander through my brother Terry Allred out of North Carolina. Of course, my brother Terry spent a little time on what I would consider some BS. I spent a lot of time behind bars on some BS. A couple of ounces of crack. Come on, man. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But Terry's got some great stories about resilience and redemption coming out of the federal prison system. But today we're going to be talking with Greg Commander, one of the founders and original members of the Juice Crew, coming out of High Point, North Carolina, and they were running things back in the day. He's got a great story and a great conversation to be had. So we're going to jump into that in just a little bit. Um, okay, let's see. As a matter of fact, let me get Greg onto the stage right now. Let's see here. Commander,
What's going on, my brother?
I'm good. I'm good. Are you driving? Are you in a good situation to talk, or are you gonna give it a
No,
minute?
I can tell. I'm right around the corner from my gym right now. I'm picking up a guy right now. I'm heading to my gym. I'm right around the corner.
Okay. Do you want to wait till you get to the gym, or do you want to go ahead on and just jump into it right now?
Let me get to the gym. I ain't about 2 minutes away from my gym.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff. And then, like I said, all the technical specs are good. And then when we get together, just turn your camera sideways, and then we'll go from there. So go ahead and get yourself set up, and then we'll be good to go.
Okay, I'll be there in a few minutes, and we'll get started.
All right, appreciate you, brother. See you in a minute.
All right, bro. Peace.
Okay, so um, brother Greg will be back with us here in just a minute when he gets to the studio. Like I said, we're going through all of the tech specs. Everything's good on that end. So let me uh, make sure here. Okay, to all of my IG followers, can y'all hear me? Give me a thumbs up, a heart, a like, or tell me something good. Say let me know that you can hear me. I want to make sure that y'all are receiving me well because this is going to be a great conversation today. Okay, look at the sound quality working good on this side. So so the sound's coming through. Good stuff. Um, yeah, we're gonna have a real good conversation today. Uh, so outside of that, give you a little heads up. The 18th, the 18th through the 20th, the 18th through the 20th. Um, I will be, I will be taking care of some business with my brother Keith Wallace. He'll be in the area working on completion of the book, getting some more content for his documentary intact. So we're gonna be putting in that work here in the next week or so, next couple of days or so, about a week, yeah, about a week or so. So that's gonna come to a head here pretty soon, and just to give you guys an idea of um, what's going on with that, impactful. Let me just say that impactful. Keith Wallace's story is riveting. Um, Eventually, I could see it evolving into um, a movie, just based on his trials and tribulations. But Keith is one for the Keith is one for the record books as it relates to what an individual has to go through, um, fighting the entire way just to find some solace, some peace of mind, and being given the opportunity to tell the story, to be a part of the story, and embrace this brother's journey through the industry, um, knowing full well that his pivot to become a messenger, um, as opposed to someone that is just going along to get along with the mainstream industry, going against the grain, in a major way. It speaks volumes to who he is as an individual, his character, his integrity, and I'm enjoying being a part of the journey. Let me just say that. Um, we have the collaboration with Getty Blue and Keith Wallace. We'll be shooting the music video here in Meridian. I can't give you a, 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 a lock-in date for certain, but I know that Keith has committed himself to participating in um, community service work and unification work with the youth in the area, um, here in the area in Meridian and surrounding areas. So we're going to take full advantage of those opportunities when they arise. And yes, when we do so, we definitely want the community to come out and have a good time with us, and enjoy everything that we're bringing to the table. Um, I also I also need to make you aware, and this is in Georgia, um, House Bill or Senate Bill. I think it's Senate Bill 33 or House Bill 33, one or the other. Um, I want to say House Bill 33. They're changing up regulations as it relates to CBD products. I was reading on my brother's page, Big Gip. He posted something about regulations that are changing, and of course they're enforcing the law um, on retailers that are abiding by the general law, but at the same time, now that regulations are changing, they could find themselves in a situation where they're operating um, adverse to law. But then again, at the same time, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of product that they have to either destroy, and find a way to reconcile inventory that has been wiped out, um, and just be put in a situation or a bad situation, where they just outright just be shut down because they're not in compliance, because of what they've already initially invested, under the impression that they were falling within the guidelines that the state originally has put into place. So that's not only going to affect retailers, it's also going to impact farmers that are working their butts off just to produce a product that can be put on the shelves for retailers to utilize. So something to take in consideration. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns as it relates to Georgia law, and that bill, House Bill 33, please, I implore you to reach out to Big Gip um, on IG, Gip Goodies, Gip Goody. look him up, man. Reach out, read up on the bill, see what you can do to assist or help the situation. Because whether you realize it or not, um, it's going to impact farmers in such a way that the law enforcement agencies begin to go out and either burn down their fields or put these people in a situation where they're incarcerated and have to deal with hefty fines for no reason. And we're dealing with things that have been de- de- decriminalized to the degree federally across the country, and we're dealing with old um, laws that need to be revamped and examined and taken a look at. One thing to consider and really pay attention to within all of this that you're going on with um, is that these are the people that we elect, the same individuals that are making the laws and creating the laws, writing the laws, and introducing legislation are the folks that we elect. So I implore you to be sure that if you have an issue, you make it count at the polls. You make your voice count at the polls when you elect your local, state, and federal officials. So, with that being said, Brother Greg has gotten himself into position. So let me bring him back onto the stage. What's up, Brother Commander? How you doing?
Oh man, I done made it in the office now, man. I'm
Good,
waiting on you now.
good stuff. Good stuff. Can you turn your camera horizontal?
Okay.
Yeah, just flip it that way so that we'll be in. There you go. There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's always a blessing. Every time I see you, remind me I'm living, brother.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Hold on just a second. I just want to make sure that we good. If you get an opportunity to share the content with your people and let them know that you're about to go live, um, give them a heads up because I've been talking for a minute. And before we go all the way live, I got one more shout out that I'm gonna give because I was just talking about what's going on in Georgia with my man Big Gip over there with I think it was a House bill or Senate Bill 33 that they've just introduced, and of course that's going to deal with the CBD and the hemp farmers in the area and retailers. They've been, going into the stores and, pretty much just like a raid at a trap house. You're talking about a retail business that has, the permits and permission to actually do business in the city. They're going in and turning their stores upside down because of some of the regulations some of the rules and regulations that they're putting into place in Georgia based on um, uh, the THC count or the hemp count, whatever the case may be, in the product. So things like this, right? And I speak to this because these are things that I use, right? This is Gips, and I'm gonna show you this. This is Big Gips. No more pain gel, right? And it's a medicine basically, just like any kind of gel that you would find um, out there to use to ease your pain. Get has products like this that he pushes that he knows now at this point he might have to change the content within the products, and that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that he loses or he has to reinvest into something to keep his products on the shelves. He's been fighting this battle, but that's neither here nor there. How you doing today, man? Let's get into why we really here.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, Greg?
I can hear you loud and clear, brother. You're doing a good job.
Okay. Welcome to the show. And I appreciate you for taking some time and sitting down with me. Um, so before we really get into it, because I can give you an introduction, Greg Commander, one of the original members of the Juice Crew. I'm not going to give all the other names, Kevin Commander and the whole 9 yards, but I want you to give our audience a little background about who you are and some of the. We're not even going to get into some of the things that you're doing in High Point right now, but I want them to know who you are and a little background about High Point and your region.
First of all, I want to thank God for the opportunity for you brothers inviting me to be part of your platform to share my life story and part of my journey. What brought me here today to be able to sit down with you today and to be sharing my story with the world. And I'm truly honored and it's truly a pleasure for me to be sitting here. So I want to let you know that first. But I'm from High Point, North. Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. I'm from a small town here in High Point, North Carolina, which is I don't even know how many people's here because it's so small. We don't even count. We say how big it is. But it's a little small town that I grew up in and kind of rural, and I grew up with like five brothers and sisters, 5 counting myself. I'm the oldest brother. I had an older sister. I was born and raised in the home with my mother, with both parents, where my parents, didn't have much education, but my mom, she was 110% woman and 120% a good wife. And my father, his percentages wasn't so high, but he was there. And I grew up at, light-skinned young man growing up in the community and going to school, getting bullied and learning how to, fight and take care of my sisters and brothers. And I ended up in the streets after my mom passed away, and I ended up starting hustling and got into the drug game and got into it real deep.
Hold on, Greg. Before we jump off into that, because I can't just let you speed bump past that, right? Because that's a part of the story. But we got to go back. We got to go back because I gotta let the audience know that your mother died of a brain aneurysm when you were young.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, how old were you when that happened? Give me the range. Give me the range.
I was 19 years old. My mom passed away. I actually was younger than actually in age I was 19, but my mom took care of the family. My mom bought my first 2 cars, so that still made me a young boy, probably about 14 years old, but I was 19 years old at the time. Yes, when my mom passed away with an aneurysm.
Okay, so going through that emotionally, knowing that your mom was, your rock, right? That she was the foundation, and pops was a little bit on shaky ground. You say,
Yes, sir.
was that a result of what? Was it a result of drug addiction, or was it gambling, just hoeing in the street? What was going on with that?
Well, my dad, he was a typical, man in the streets. I mean, he was one of those type fathers that he was determined not to punch a clock. He was a straight hustler. He get out and
Gotcha.
he'll pour concrete and he'll work in a store and he'll breaking in or something. I had one of those type dad was like that. That he tried to fix on cars and hustle all his life without punching a clock.
Okay. Well, when mom passed, dad, to some degree, abandoned the family. Yes.
Yes, when my mom passed away, um, my father left home. My mom passed
Right.
away. My father left home, that left me, in a home. And like I said, my mama took care of everything. I was still a young boy when my mom passed away. So my dad left that responsibility on us to figure our way out because he was out, using drugs and doing other things and chasing young women. And I was there when the landlord came and knocked on the door one day, threatened to put us out because he promised the landlord that he would pay the rent. But even though he wasn't living with us, when he got the money from my mom's insurance off her death, he would make up for the money that was not paid. So we got an unexpected knock on the door from the landlord saying we was going to be put out because she had not seen my father. And it's because my father was using drugs. my dad took the money and he splurged it through drugs, and we were threatened to be put out, and that point right there was led me to the streets. That's when it led me to
Okay,
the streets.
so yeah, so you seeing the young hustlers out there on the block getting it in, and you need money.
Yes, sir.
You need money. You got bills to pay. You got to eat. Your brothers and sisters got to eat.
Right.
So jumping into the game like that, man, knowing that you're under pressure already, okay, you start engaging in this at a young age, and I'm not saying this that it's not too young of an age because through going through your history and going through some of the things that you dealt with, you were actually purchasing products from a 10-year-old. You were getting some of your packages from a 10-year-old at one time.
Yes,
So
sir.
give me a little bit about that background of the story on how that was happening when you were making those trips up to Winston-Salem.
Okay, how that how that happened was I wasn't, my mom, excuse me, my mom didn't allow us to go in the streets.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And when my mama passed away and my father left home, me being the big brother, I had to step out there and figure out a way how we gonna make it now. And I remember I didn't know what else to do, but I remember looking out of my window, seeing hustler, game banger, thieves, and robbers. And I remember young guys out there hustling. So when my mom passed away and my father was gone, I had no time to go look for my dad to tell me a lie why he ain't paid the landlord the money to keep us in the home. So I ended up meeting a young guy in the street, a guy in the street who was known to be out there hustling. And I told him I need to make some money, man. I got to find a place to stay for my family. Like I said, I wasn't one that went out there to the street just to hustle, just to be hustling. I hustled because I
Right.
had to make a for my family. And I got out there
Mhm.
and he said, how much money do you have? I said, I only have $20, man. And he said, $20? He said, but we have to drive all the way to Winston. And I can get you something for $20, And he took me over to Winston. And when we went over there, he pointed, he said, that's where we're gonna get the drugs from. I said, who? It was a little guy, man. He was a very, probably about, he was a real short guy. And I'm looking at this guy making all this money. He had money in his pocket. He was starting making sales. And my mind said, I'm gonna rob this guy. When I get up there, I'm gonna figure out a way how to rob him. I need some money. That's how bad I needed money. Don't know anything about robbing, but I was willing to sacrifice to make a way for my family to have a place to stay. So when I got up on the young guy and I checked him out, I said, hey, I like to spend a 20. He said, come on behind the building in the project. So we went on behind the building, and this is what I'm thinking about. I'm gonna rob this young guy at. I get behind the building, and he got another little kid just as short as he was, but he had a little sawed-off shotgun. He had a look on his face like, I know you're thinking about robbing us, like a lot of other guys do. And he said, but this ain't what you want to do. I can see this on his face. So I gave him $20. Come to find out, this little guy here was only 10 years old. I was getting my drugs from. And
Yeah.
I go back to High Point and I break down a 20 and make two 20s. I get $40. The guy take me back. I get two 20s, break them down and make $80. And I kept doing this until I became one of the biggest hustlers in the streets. I went back
Okay.
and forth to Winston to this 10-year-old kid.
Yes, indeed. So now, and a lot of people in this day and age might hear this conversation and not really necessarily understand the grind it takes to get to where you started to where it ended up, right? Because there's a lot of ups and downs, between me flipping 20s on the block to now I've got conspiracy charges and, I'm getting trapped up with, you know, 3 kilos in a situation where now I've got people that I thought I was doing business with are now testifying against me.
Right. Well,
So
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Talk to me. Talk to me.
No,
Talk to
that
me. Because like I said, I mean, it's because I see you have a patch over your eye. I don't know if that was from birth or if that's something that happened while you was out in the street. Because, like I say, everybody don't come out of this thing unscathed. There's only a couple of ways it's gonna end: prison or death.
Right.
So you've been mentoring kids about this very same thing after your stint. So I just need you to give me some details about you starting on the block, grinding, mixing it up with the hustlers and gangsters in the street, doing what you got to do, knowing that. But then you also realize, well, you didn't realize that within all of this, the fans is watching.
Yes, sir. Well,
So
you
talk to
know,
me, man.
well, it's kind of deep, you know, to be taking me back here. You know, it's kind of weird to think back. They be asking questions about it, you know, because I went to court and they didn't get to hear all of this. You know,
Right.
my secret. But like I said, growing up, and my mom didn't play us coming out in the streets. You know, we one of them
Yeah.
families that come in before the street light go off. We got to be in the house. So
Right.
when I went to the streets, and I'm a type brother, I'm a go getter. You know, I had to learn how to fight. I had to learn how to fight to protect me because again, I was light skinned. So I learned how to fight. So I was talking about my patch. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my patch first. I got my patch when I was like 17 years old. Because when I was being bullied, because I was light skinned, considered as a pretty boy, that's what they say. I went into and I used to go to school, and they used to pick on me and my sister and my brother because all of us was light skinned. They would consider that we were pretty boys and all this and that. My mom buy clothes back then. You wear clothes, you gotta keep your clothes clean because you're gonna have to wear them again tomorrow and maybe 2 more times this week. So they used to kick dirt on us walking home from school to kick dirt on us, and I learned how to fight, and I got real skillful at fighting. I used to pick my mattress up, run home every day from school. I punched my mattress until I lay down and go to sleep sweating. But I became a very skillful fighter. And I was determined because my dad didn't play us coming home, allowing people to jump on us. And I'm the big brother. I got to take care of my sisters and brother. And I got my game together and I learned how to fight. I went back and I beat the bully at school. I was only in the elementary fighting the bully. I had bullies in the elementary. And from that, as I got older, I would learn how to, I was good at skill at fighting. So people used to send people to try to fight me. And they had a guy come from New York who supposed to came down here to fight me, supposed to be able to beat me. Came down and somehow got chickened out. And I was in this game room playing the games, you know, where we played Pac-Man and all this other stuff. And I was walking out the door and we supposed to be going out to fight. He was behind the door like a coward and hit me with a baseball bat when I walked out the door, which that's the reason why, and hit me in the eye. And that's the reason why I wear the eye patch today. But
Okay.
yes, and from that, you know, growing up, again back into the streets, I learned I was hustling, trying to get to the point where the feds, before the feds came in on me, I would go to neighborhoods because my mom didn't play us being in the streets. I would go to neighborhoods and I would get behind the bush and peep at people that was hustling and watch how they hustle, learning the game from scratch without going to ask people because the game was serious. You know, I got out there when the crack epidemic was out there, when the crack was heavy in the streets. It was hand over fist, you know, a rock, you hold a rock right in your hand. I remember the police didn't even know what the rock was in High Point, North Carolina, crack rock was. And I was selling this before they even realized what it was. So I used to go in the neighborhoods and look, peek behind the bush and watch how people hang out late at night and stay out all night and hustle. And I learned and I followed the steps and this is what I did. And I learned how to hustle without asking a whole lot of people and paying attention. I listened well. And I started hustling and I started running back and forth to the Winston-Salem, getting what they call them breakdowns. And these young boys that were 10 years old would supply me. And I got to the point where they would look out for me because I was spending so much money with them. But I got so much drugs now, I got to go back and distribute this drugs. I needed a team. And I started looking for people to help me hustle. And that's when they came up with the guys that was surrounding us. And they called it, I didn't call us the Juice Crew. The streets called us Juice Crew because we had the juice. We had what you wanted. It didn't matter what it was, we had it. And from that point, I was becoming an animal. I became an animal being in the game. If my mother would have saw me the way I was coming up in the game, it blew my mother's mind. It blew my mother's mind. It would have blew my second grade, my third grade, my fourth grade teacher. It would have blew their mind. It would have blew my coaches when I was wrestling and running track and playing football. It would have blew their mind. They would have never knew that I grew up to be this type of person. But in my mind, I wasn't that person. I was a good person, but a man that needed to make a hustle to take care of his family. So everything that I was doing, it wasn't really me. I was emulating the streets in the world to get to the point where I was at to be a hustler. So I had to make a way and find a way to get my family in a place before we was put out in the streets.
Okay.
So let's examine that a little bit, because I wanna know where the transition was, because somewhere along the line you got jammed up, right? Because everything ain't just easy sailing. Okay, so let's talk about how that came about. You know, how did you get caught up?
How did I get caught up? I got caught
Yeah.
up with conspiracy. And what
Okay.
happened with conspiracy, and a lot of people don't understand what conspiracy is. And conspiracy is where two or more people gather to come together to reach a goal. Two or more people coming together to reach a goal. And for an example, one can be feeding the dog. One can be the watch out man on the corner 2 blocks up and radio and let everybody know that the cops are around. You know, one can be bagging up. One can go to New York and pick up. That's a conspiracy. Well, the feds came in and they gathered all the guys that I had that was part of our team and gathered us up. And they locked us up for conspiracy to sell large amounts of drugs in this small rural city of High Point, North Carolina. And they gave us from 10 to 25 years in prison because we were young. I was so ignorant to the fact that I was hiding my drugs at the police department. Felt that it was a safe place. Go to the police department to pick my drugs up where I had them hid at. That's how I was so, but I was mastering the game. I called myself mastering the game. And I went out there and I was on this level of hustling till I had all these guys until the feds came in and picked up every one of us and locked us up. And I, for 18 years, they gave me 25 and a half years. For 18 years, I did not see the streets.
Okay,
And,
so when did the feds come in and actually indict you and bring those charges on you?
it was in 1991. 1991, when one of my co-defendants went to New York and picked up some drugs. And he got back to High Point and they watched him and they followed him and they busted him. And that's what the conspiracy come in. Like I say, I don't have to get caught with the drugs to be charged with conspiracy. I was charged for the drugs that he brought from New York, which was his very own drugs. He was doing his own thing. But when you're in a conspiracy and they're creating a conspiracy or bringing together a conspiracy, you are responsible for your co-defendant's actions. So for those
now, are we talking about Wilson? Are we talking about Wilson?
No. It was one guy named Asante. He was one of Asante was one of the guys that, he the one that got busted. That's where this conspiracy started at.
Okay, because I just needed to get it straight because I'm trying to figure out how Gwen Ewing and Weidman, how they play a role in your whole situation, because they were confidential informants, or Gwen was trying to get a reduced sentence for Weidman. What the hell was going on with that?
Yeah, she was trying to get a reduced sentence for Weidman. See, now Gwen was one of my girls. She was one of my. I gave her the Weidman. Like, you can have her. You can have this.
Gotcha.
Girl. But she turned back around, got with Weidman, and ended up coming back testifying against me. to help Weidman's sentence.
Okay.
Weidman then was on
Gotcha.
another conspiracy, and they were trying to save themselves because the government will allow you to be a snitch to shorten your sentence, but you got to bring down other people.
Right.
And that's how they reached back and they got us. And when Asante got busted, they don't need but one more person to go along with what they was already ready to testify against us, Weidman.
Yeah.
So when Asante came in, he just sparked the fire. And they said, okay, we got enough evidence now to go get them all. And that's how they end up getting all us. The feds, they duped Santi, and Antonio Weidman helped the government get Santi to testify his statements that he was saying and get us locked up. So they went and picked all us up and made it a conspiracy, and not just for the drugs that he was knocked off for. Santi got knocked off for I think 33 grams, 32 grams, and then they made it a whole conspiracy, which added up to 2 keys and a half, 3 keys.
Right. 3 keys, right about 3 keys. But then they tried to run all of y'all situations together, as opposed to you being able to stand on your own merit and fight your case by yourself. Or what was that situation? How the hell did that happen?
What happened was, Weidman, they testimony, they want to use their testimony. So what they want to do, they only had testimony. That's all they had was testimony. And when they got Asante, it was supposed to be from our team. When they got him, then they had enough to make their statements real. They willing to testify together to testify on us for them to get their sentence cut short.
Right.
So yeah, and it's kind of tricky the way it's played, but these individuals, which is Weidman, is the one that turned me on to the drug game. I turned around and gave drugs to my crew, because I was buying from. I also bought drugs from Weidman, because he was. I was making all my money out of Winston with the young guy. I switched over to Weidman, who could sell me a large amount of drugs. Right. And I was rocking with him, and then I turned my other guys on to him, and that's where the connection, what put me with the whole connection, because I was with Weidman, and I introduced them to the Juice Crew.
Right. So the female that you turned on to Weidman, and at one point, I guess he asked her to marry him or something. So that was a part of the situation where it's her credibility as a witness couldn't actually stand up.
Well, that was part of his scheme. Part of his scheme was, he say, if he tell the feds that he's marrying her, it's almost like, I get myself together. I'm accepting responsibility. I'm telling you where I got my drugs from. I tell you who got the drugs, and I'm getting ready to get married. Yeah. So it sounds kind of good for him. On the other side, it sounds good, hoping that he'll get a more time reduction.
Right. Right. Okay. But he actually was putting her out there to work, though.
Oh yeah, she was working.
Yeah.
She was working.
Yeah. Okay.
Her and her girlfriend supposed to came by the house and bought some drugs from me, but it never happened. It never happened. And this is why they was locked up when they was doing this, and I was still out on the streets when he sent her to come to my house to buy drugs.
Right.
But she never got no drugs from me. But went to court with this statement. So yeah, that's how it works.
Okay. So let's talk about this part of it, because and this is why I appreciate your story. And this is why I appreciate having a conversation with you, because you're sitting in your office right now at the boxing gym, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And a lot of kids don't have that outlet. Not only do they not have that outlet, they don't have an opportunity to sit down and speak with individuals like yourself that are actually going through something real.
Right.
And have a true testimony. So, and not only that, let me just say this. A lot of times individuals that have served time, And I don't want to say the older generation. I guess this is this new generation of folks that are coming through, but they kind of glorify what they've gone through as though it's giving them some badge or credibility to a degree. But you don't paint that picture. When I talk to you, you give it to me real, you give it to me raw, and you want these kids to know that prison isn't where you want to be. So give me a little bit about um, your introduction to the penal system, law enforcement to the degree to where it's, hey man, I'm in this lockbox, um, and there's nothing that I can do. Give me the description that you gave me earlier about how reality sets in.
Well, the reality sets in, when I was sitting in that, when they picked me up on April the 1st, which is, a lot of April Fool conversation jokes goes on. And I remember
Yeah.
calling home and telling my family that I was locked up and they thought it was a April Fool. So when
Yeah.
got locked up, it was one of the most office times of my life. I mean, I went from living the glamorous life, wearing the nice clothes and big cars and all the money and all the girls and all the things that glitter, all the lights and everything that comes with it. I was dwelling in it. And all of a sudden, on April the 1st, the 29th, April the 29th of 1991, I was partying. No, February 29th, 30, 31, I'm partying, living the life, living the great things of life. April the 1st, it ceased. I was sitting in a cold, cold jail cell. And I remember, man, coming up and seeing guys washing their drawers out and hanging them up around the bars, around the jail cell, just hanging up. And I remember them bringing the trays to feed through the window. For a whole week, I didn't even eat the food because I couldn't even get an appetite of what was just taking place. Then the food looked like garbage. I'm so used to eating steaks and big salads and nice desserts, cheesecakes and cakes and all this. Now I'm looking at a plastic plate here with some, chicken con. You never heard of that. I didn't either. Chicken con. And it was on my plate. And it was a piece of light bread. It was literally light bread. It wasn't bread, it was light bread. It's what we call it back in the day. And some type of meat. I don't know. But I'm sitting at my table, and this is the same table that the guys sit on and play cards on.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with this, and I'm feeling some type of way, man, because I'm so used to living that life. And it was a bitter feeling that comes over me. I felt degraded. I felt lost. I feel like I can't say I felt dead because I don't know what it feels like to be dead, but I was in a dead state. I mean, a dormant state of reality, what's real and what's not real, and what's going on. And I was lost and trying to figure my way out. What do I do in a situation like this to ease the pain? This is something that people don't talk about. This is something that a man goes through. I don't care how tough you are. I seen thugs cry. I really seen them cry. I seen thugs hang themselves. Some guys couldn't make it. Some guys couldn't deal with it. And in this situation right here, they coughed me off until Atlanta Penitentiary. And after sitting in jails for years all over the United States, they ship me here, they ship me there, they ship us there. They'll never let you stay in one place too long, waiting for trial. I went to trial. And when they coughed us off and finally gave us our time, we had to wait 3 more months to wait to get our sentence. And after they gave us our sentence, they gave me that time. I was sitting in the jail. I remember them giving it to me. The federal government give it to you in months. They don't give it to you in years. And I remember sitting down like, they gave me 290 some months. They gave me 292 months. I'm trying to figure out what is 292 months? I'm like, oh, I can do that right there. I sat down and I started counting the 292 months up. And I got up to about 5 years and I quit. I said, this is season. I couldn't even see another calendar. I said, I couldn't even count that far. So I knew then I was in for a long trip. And then they coughed off the Atlanta Penitentiary. And I remember standing inside the corridor, the real high ceiling, and they had a bunch of presidents on the walls in the U.S. Penitentiary. And I remember standing there, and I was looking at like, wow, these are the slave masters that run this place for years and years. Didn't even know they was the president. And I'm looking at them, I say, wow, I'm in for a long, long ride. And that's the day that I stepped into the penitentiary and I realized that this was a reality, that I'll be gone for a long, long time. And that was the day that I entered the penitentiary and the feelings I was having. My name wasn't Greg Commander. My name was 1164277. That was my booking number. And I had to remember that number. When you call me, I was answered to that number. You call me and I answer to it. And that's how they had me. My mindset trained. They said they'll beat you down if you didn't remember your number. So all this going through my mind as a young 19-year-old kid, getting this type of information, trying to retain this type of information, that I'm be faced with this here for the next 24 years of my life. That was my walk entry that day.
That was your introduction to it.
That was the introduction.
So you 18 years. Sit down.
You said 18 years.
I
What?
didn't hear you, Greg. 18 years. You had to sit down for 18 years, right?
I had 25 years, but the new law came in and dropped it from 25 to 20 years because I was
20.
up in the minimum, and they didn't have a law for crack. They didn't have a law for crack, so they gave us the equivalence to cocaine. So 3 keys of crack was the equivalent. 1 key of crack was the equivalent to 100 keys of powder.
Right. Okay.
And I had 3 keys.
Right. So knowing that you've made this transition, and when I say you've made this transition, you out living a life of luxury. You know, you've surpassed the part of, okay, I'm just paying my bills, trying to survive now, because
Yes,
now
sir.
you full-fledged, you will be considered a kingpin in the street. In High Point, in such a small region, so you had a chokehold on the game. I mean, there's no way that you can't say that that's not what was happening, given the conversation.
Right.
But now you're sitting in a cell, going through what you're going through. And how many years did you serve? It was 18 years served, right? Or 20
18.
years served?
I served
18
18.
years served. Okay. So you served 18 years. In them 18 years, man, I know you went through hell in that prison cell.
Yes,
I
sir.
know things that you've seen, things that you've witnessed, things that you probably don't even want to talk about. But I gotta jump into it, man. You gotta give me something to make folks realize on the outside. And I'm talking about the younger generation, young men, young women that figure that, hey man, me going down this path of either grilling. I think that's the new term that they use these days for um for murder, or if you're going into the drug game, if you're going to be a banger, if you're going to be active in the streets, which is set, whatever the case may be, know that this is what is really waiting for you on the other side.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm gonna jump into this, and I got a lot of stories to
Okay.
tell, but one particular story. When I first entered the Atlanta Penitentiary, and it's kind of emotional what I saw
Mm-hmm.
and what I heard, but couldn't say nothing.
Right.
But I remember a gang member. They cracked the door at 6 o'clock in the morning, And this guy, actually, there was two different odd brothers that was gang members, and he cut his celly up for some altercation that they had difference in the different gangs. And he was in his cell because the feds will put you wherever there is room. And he put him in the room with him, and some reason something happened. And he cut this guy up. And this guy was already doing a whole lot of time that was already in the cell. But he cut this guy up. I don't know what kind of knife he had made. But he cut this guy up so bad. And he cut his parts up. And
Hold up now. We ain't gonna this is as graphic as you can get. When you say his parts, you mean his genitals.
his genital, his legs, his arms, his everything.
Yeah.
And he had
Yeah.
all night to cut these pieces up
Yeah.
because he was in the cell with him on lockdown till 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And he got rid of a lot of the parts. He cut them up enough to get rid of all the parts, but he couldn't flush the head.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't get rid of the head. And they rushed in the room that morning, and all this commotion going on right next door to my cell.
Right.
You know, I don't know what he did because I didn't even hear nothing of what was going on over there. Last I heard was an altercation. And I don't tell nobody nothing. What I see, you hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. That's what I was taught in the penitentiary when I first walked in. So he cut this guy up. And this guy was a veteran. He'd been down for a long time. And he cut this man's body up, and he got rid of a lot of the parts, man, but he couldn't flush the head.
Mm-hmm.
And this as soon as I got on the compound. And it blew my mind. And just think now, I'm coming into the penitentiary, and I got 25 years to do. 25 years to do. And this was
19 years old.
19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this. Not only that, now me and my brother did time too. See, the feds had me and my brother in this whole conspiracy. I mean, my brother did 18 years too.
Right.
Yeah, my brother did 18 years too. And we was in the same cell together, but we was beside this guy. And I knew the guy. I see him, pretty cool guy. Other than what he was doing with the gangs, I don't know. But this guy chopped them all up, man, and flushed it, and got rid of every part of his body, man, but his head, because he couldn't flush it. So, that was one of my.
Yeah, man. So knowing that you're dealing with things like this over an 18-year span, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over an 18-year span. You get an opportunity to get out. 18 years lockdown. You get an opportunity to get out. And at this point, you had something going on mentally to say that this isn't it. This is not how I'm supposed to be living my life.
Right.
Can you pinpoint when you were when that happened while you were incarcerated, if in fact it happened while you were incarcerated?
Yes, for God, I feel that God was talking to me in this whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
He realized that I was a commander. My last name was Commander. So the guards call you by your last name. That's how you're called. They call you by your last name, but you're called by your number. But you have to be called by your name when they call you. Is by your last name, like military. So the guards didn't like to call me Commander. I'm an inmate, but they had to call me Commander. So I realized the potence of my name alone, that God had a purpose in my life to be able to have a name of Commander in this world, that the correctional officer, the COs, had to call me Commander. And they hated it because they was correctional officer. and they had a lieutenant, but I was a commander, and they hated to call me by commander. But my wake up call was when I was laying in my cell after I served 16 years. There's a kid walked into my cell who was only 26 years old. Remember, I went in, I was 19.
Right.
So this young boy walked in my cell after I served 16 years of the 18 years I pulled, and we went to talking. And see, when you go to prison, when somebody comes into prison, they say, oh, prisoners know everything, because what we do, anytime a new inmate comes in, we have a good conversation on what's going on in the world. What's happening in Winston? What happened in Greensboro? What happened in High Point? In those surrounding areas. And they start giving you all this stuff about what's going on, the new stuff, because 16 years, you gone for a long time. You lost to the world. So this young man who walked in my cell with his bedroll, had his everything and his deodorant and all the stuff they give you when you walk in. And I told him, your bunk is up there. I was reading a book, laying on my back, and he sat on the table. It's a little metal table. He was just getting off the transit like I did, got caught from North Carolina to Atlanta. He just went through the process of being processed in, and he walks into my cell. And we went to talking, and come to find out, this young man from Winston-Salem. This young man used to hustle off of 16th Street, where I used to go pick my drugs up. So, and I say, yeah, I remember 16th Street, man. You hustle off of 16th? Well, I used to get my drugs from some guys from Miami, young boys that work for the Miami guys down there, some young boys down there, man, very young. He say, I was the one. Me and my brother was the one that sold drugs for the Miami guys. We were very young. We was 10 years old hustling out there. We started. I said, yo, you was the one I bought my drugs from. I was getting off 16th Street, and the little kid was 10 years old. The 10-year-old kid and I had walked into my cell at the age of 26.
Come on.
And he had 35 years.
So before you keep on going with that, right? When you come to that realization, and that young brother at 26 is looking you in your face, man, and you come to the realization that that guy was the same 10-year-old kid, what does that do to an individual? What did that do to you?
Well, that was my wake up. That was my wake up call. Because I'm looking at this metal bunk. I can only see the top of the metal bunk every night. And I watch men. I done been down 16 years, so I done seen men get on them. I see men get off them. I see men get transferred to other penitentiaries. I see men go home within 16 years. I done seen men get up there and end up going to the hole with more time now. I done seen it happen. And when this 10-year-old kid, now 16 years old, it hit me. It hit me from a deep, deep, deep side of me, which was my spiritual. My spiritual was awakening. I was already reading the Bible, because I went to prison. I couldn't read or write.
Okay.
Reading, I can read it, but I couldn't comprehend it. Comprehending is reading. If you ain't comprehending what you're reading, you ain't reading. You just know word for word, verbatim, what words are saying. But I couldn't read. I had to get my GED in prison. So I had to go through my GED. I had to actually become a young boy again, because I'm sitting in school again. So after I was sitting in school, I know what it feels like to be young all over again. But to see this young boy walk into my cell with 35 years, I said, how many kids gonna get up on that same bunk? How many kids gonna be in my bunk? How many kids out there right now don't have nobody to wake them up, because they're thinking that money is their God, money is their way to life, money, hustling and getting it is sacrificing, and living this glamorous life is the only life. And I know what they're gonna do to them. They're gonna put them in one of these bunks that I'm in. And both of us got a lot of time, because I had 25 and he ended up with 35. So they wasn't about they wouldn't give it to you. So I read my Bible every night, and I pray, and when God was speaking to me, God was speaking to me. I say, God, you didn't allow me to leave out of prison like a lot of people got their sentence overturned, someone they appeal, but I'm 16 years in now. And I'm still looking at, I still got some more years, because I'm still looking at 25 years before the law changed. So I say, God, for that last part of my bill, I say, God, you don't even have to get me out right now. I say, but if you deliver me out of this prison where I can see my family again, that I can walk down the street, that I can drive a car again, I say, God, I will go out in the streets and I will save every young man that's out there, that they don't get on the bump like this young man here and like come in young like I am. And God granted me that. I walked out the penitentiary in 2008. And that was, it's unexplainable because I'm a new person.
Right.
I'm a new person, and which makes me a baby. Going back into a world that was consist of grown animals and beasts. And I was lost because I don't know what's going on. I don't know who is who. It's nothing the way I remember. I was a little baby. I was a baby all over again. Walking out the penitentiary, but it was a grown. I felt like I had all the knowledge in the world, but I didn't know how to function out in the new world. And I was faced with coming out that penitentiary, seeing what I done saw, heads and bodies being cut up and brothers stabbed up and homosexualities going on and brothers them stealing and robbing and tricking, doing all kinds of stuff and hustling and gang banging and all kinds of stuff. And I've been around all the different gangs. I've been sitting down with Peter Gotti, with John Gotti, brother, Underboss, which was his brother. I sat down with him and had conversation with him in the penitentiary. And a little young man like me going through what I'm going through after being in the street as a hustler, gangbanger, thief, and a robber, and learned to be sitting down with these type of people on the level that was thinking the way they was thinking, and got me to the point now, not thinking to come back out here like to beat the system, but how I'm going to go out here and save the next young man from getting on the next bump and being through the penitentiary like me and the little young 10-year-old kid who was now 26 years old.
CPA. Give me the name of the program. That's your program. Well, hold up. Because Hank Wall is one of the individuals with BOTSCO.
Now Hank Wall,
If I'm not mistaken.
he had a business. He had a nonprofit organization called BOTSO, Brothers Organized
Well,
to Save
Bosco.
Others.
That's right. That's right.
And
That's right.
when I came home, been on my mission for God, I had to come out here with a drive. And I didn't know nothing but how to speak because I educated myself. I went to NA, AA, and I did a lot of programs. I started reading. I learned how to read. I got my GED, and I learned to read, and I go to different Bible studies, and I was learning so many, reading other books, and I had a lot of abundance of information in me, but I didn't know how to deliver it to the people. But I did know what it is to feel to have a young man who is 10 years old or a young man that's younger than I that needed my knowledge that I was inquiring and what I was experiencing while I was incarcerated. I was in there, and I say that because I'm in here and I've been here and I got the experience what's going on. And I feel like God had brought me through like Moses, say, yo, you go back and tell Pharaoh, let my people go. And that's what put me on the mission to do what I do today. And with CPA, Commander Peace Academy.
You dropped out, Commander.
Happened.
You dropped out on me. I don't know if it's your Wi-Fi on your end. You was talking about the Commander Peace Academy.
Yeah, the Commander Peace Academy is my organization because I want to get closer to my people. I want to get closer to my people. I was working for people, going out here, going to schools and knocking on people's doors. That's how I met Hank Wall, knocking on the door. And he said that he had some kids in there. And I feel like every kid now, I felt like every 10-year-old kid now need to hear my story. So I went in there, I knocked on the door. Hank let me in. I say, I need to talk to your kids. He said, I don't have any money. I said, it's not about money. Because ain't no kid got the money to pay for what I paid for. I paid the tuition to go to the penitentiary with my life. So there is nobody can pay me enough money for what what I've been through to come out here. And there's a kid in there that needs to hear what about my story, what I've been through. And that was my first mission. Hank was my mentor. He would take me around because he felt like I had a gift to be able to teach and spread the gospel, my word of what I've been through, and that to save a next child from going through what he was going through. Thinking that he had the life because he got a little drugs and he got a little heart to do what he's doing, but he didn't have the mindset and didn't know what was ahead of him. Because if every man thought about what I've been through and what I've seen before they do what they do, they probably wouldn't even do it.
That's right.
So,
That's
yes,
right.
sir. And that mission at CPA on Commander Peace Academy, the acronym for peace is proper education always corrects error. I ain't say education. I ain't talking about the 12-year general education, what you go through to school, but proper education, knowing the value, how to respect yourself, how to respect your mother, know your conscience, know what's in your unconscious, your subconscious, how to bring something into life, how to avoid, how to not be caught up in, and how to know something and not be caught up. How can you do this without being lured into the lifestyle of a hustler and a gangbanger, thief and a robber? And I had to learn that. I had to suffer that through patience. I had to learn it through the knowledge of reading the word of God, the Bible. And I had to learn from other books and testimony from other people in their travels. And I had to learn that I had to learn from the greater power than myself to learn to know what I know, because the knowledge that we have as a young kid, we think that we have all the knowledge. We got more sense than the dad, our mothers, and anybody that could ever say to us, but we don't. We really are ignorant.
Yeah. Yeah. Commander, look, bro. Look, man. We got to get this message out. I know that you work in the boxing gym with them kids, and like you say, you're not trying to make the next Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson. I understand that.
No,
It's a
sir.
give them opportunity to get in the gym, to learn the discipline, to learn about integrity, character, and that whole onset of what it takes to become um, a good human being, basically. One thing that I did pick up that stood out to me uh, was Romans um, chapter 8, verse 28. Give a little background about why that sits strong with your spirit and you hold value to that particular verse.
Romans 8:28. Like I said, I couldn't read or write. It was the first scripture that I learned by heart that I remembered. And not only did I remembered it because, when you get in a place like penitentiary and there is no way out, there's no mama, there's no daddy, there's no friend, there's no girlfriend, there's nobody that can help you in this situation but God. But I had to look in order for me to do this time, I had to look at this time and doing time in the penitentiary is not as a prison, but I had to look at it as a university. And it became a university. And through this university, this scripture, Romans 8:28, all things work for the good for those who love God and are called according to their purpose. Remember when a young boy came in my cell, I feel like I was called. I was called to hearken to his voice, hearken to the situation. I didn't see what was going on in the street, but I hearkened to what this young man was going through. And my spirit was telling me that it's a lot of young 10-year-old kids out there that's going to be just like him. It's going to be a lot of 19-year-old kids like you. And God say, in Romans 8:28, I say, God, I love you. I love you. And everything I was saying in the scripture, what I was saying about myself, I was finding it in the scripture. For those who love God and they were called to a purpose, I had a purpose I was called to. Those two things right there was enough right there to tell me that this scripture was living, that this is the mission that God wants. And this scripture to this day, I couldn't look at things the way everybody look at it. I'm coming to you now because I'm coming to you in a way that is not normal. Nobody can't teach this what I'm teaching right now because I'm coming from a place. I'm coming from a place where I had to deny myself. When I came out and saw Christians out here, I couldn't believe Christians were living their life the way they were living out here. And where I come from, I had to learn what patience really was. I had to
Right.
learn what the knowledge of God really was. I had to
Right.
trust and believe with all my heart. that this word was true, because I was depending on, if God walked me out the penitentiary, I will come out into society and I will uplift fallen humanity. I will help him with his children. I will be Moses, even though I had a speech impediment, even though I wasn't the smartest man. But God said, I got an Aaron, what's going inside you when you open your mouth. He prophesied this to another Cuban guy that I was going to come out here in 1991. He prophesied that I will come, I will be speaking to a lot of young men, I will be changing lives, and with my size and my eye patch, when I come out of my mouth, I will be saving souls. And I got out I went to prison in 1991, got out in 2008. It's been 16 years now. I've been doing this work. I've been doing this work. I ain't did nothing else but this work since I've been home. And God put me on this mission to come out here to save our community, give it to them raw. Like I'm doing that. I thank you for the interview, because you gave me one of the most powerful interviews, because you got me digging inside my soul, which is people's in the community don't know nothing about digging down this far to get the information. That's where the answer lies at. And I'm honored to be able, like I said before, to be able to have this interview with you, because you were the one that did the best interviews that I ran across, because you went into the depths of my soul and made me come out of here and tell you where I'm at and where I come from. Romans 8:28, all things work for the good, even the bad, even me being locked up, even me being in prison. It was working for my good. It was changing my life. It was going to be able to change other people's lives. All things, even the bad things I was dealing with, even the rough penitentiary, I was starting to look at them as a good. And I look for them. I look for the good. I look for the good in the bad. And I say, this bad situation, if I don't get out, it's for my good. So when I call home and I reach back to the society, a lot of my brothers was end up dead. A lot of my brothers had AIDS. All my brothers was going through something. I come back home, I saw death in the face of 1 million people. And I say, God, I look at me. I'll be 60 my birthday. I'll be 60. And I'm looking at me now, because God took care of me, because he said, where you been and what you've been through is working for your good. And it got me now on this path to save our generation. Not only do I got the young boys that I work with from 9 years old to 17, 18 years old, I have what we call right now, that's going on right now, the men's huddle. And I didn't tell you a little bit about that. The men's huddle was to bring the men's back, because God told me, say, in order for us to make a difference in the community, we got to get our men's back and realize their position as men. And I started the men's huddle, where we got men's coming together from all different walks and talks, different backgrounds, organizations. And I done had up to 70, 80 men in the room at one time. And we building, and we creating strategies. How can we save our community?
That's what's happening, Greg. Look, man. Look. You know I love your story. And we only scratched a little bit of we only scratched a little surface of it.
Just a little surface, brother.
You know. So whether you realize it or not, we've been talking for about a good hour and 20 minutes, man.
Oh wow, brother. It don't seem like it.
I promise you, we've been talking for a good hour 20. Look, when the conversation is good and it's real, it happens like that.
Right. You brought it out me. You brought it out me, brother. I'm telling you, you brought it out me. You went some places, man, that and believe it or not, the world needs to hear what I had to say.
Yes, definitely. And you know, when we first talked, you know, that was a part of it, getting your messaging out and making sure that people truly understand what you've gone through, because it's real. It's gonna touch somebody that is in it right now, whether we realize it or not. Just like people don't fathom it. Now, ain't no way a 10-year-old was out there selling dope in the street. Oh yeah, they out there.
Right.
We might not see it, we might not know who it is, we might not be able to recognize it, but you've come through that line of, man, this is what I experienced, and I can give it to you as real and as raw as I can bring it. And hopefully it'll register, it'll resonate, and you can retain the information that I'm passing on to you. If not, hey, I've done my part, because I can't sit there and tell you repeatedly, hey man, the stove is hot, don't touch the stove. Eventually you're gonna go touch that damn stove and find out it's hot on your own. You know, so man, Greg, bro, look, hey, social media, or a website or information, ways that they can contribute to CPA and what you have going on to help these kids with the boxing gym. Give us some information on how we reach out to you and stay in contact with what you got going on. And also keep in mind, this isn't the last time I'm gonna have you on this show. We're gonna we're
I'm
gonna
waiting
we're
on
gonna
you,
keep
brother.
this in regular rotation, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm glad I was able to give you a little bit of what I have inside me, and like I say, anytime God called me to the forefront, brother, I'm eager and I'm angry. I'm ready to go because I feel like it's a time. It's a time for what's going on now, and I thank God for putting you in the place to be able to contact with me from so far. This is the power of God. So far, but you're
Yeah.
so close now. And not
Yeah.
only are you close until me that I can see you, my spirit regulate with yours. It connects. And I know that God
That's right.
has a plan. He has a plan bigger
Yes.
than what we're doing right now. Because I know your mind is running right now or what you see with a person like me because I'm raw material. I can go into
Right.
school right now and I can shut the school down. And brother, the kids actually, man, salute me. Gang members saluting me because I never went back to the streets when I came home. I never touched another drug. And I fight for my
Amen.
young brothers. I fight for the game. I advocate for them. I stand in the gap for them.
Right.
I'm changing
That's
lives
right.
for my young G's right now. My young G's right now really, 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 really know my position now. They call me the OG. I'm the OG
Yeah.
because I have original game, not original gangster, original
That's right.
game. And
Yes.
I have another, which is the most powerful. I'm an OG because I have an original God that I trust and
That's right.
believe in, that will lead
Amen.
he'll lead the next man away. So I thank you, brother, again for allowing me to be on your platform to share with your audience and give them the gift of God and to teach them the value of Romans 8:28. You might be going through something right now. You might feel like you got to hustle right now, but you don't have to. You just find a way and you're going to have to learn to trust in God. And if you can't, then you're going to end up hustling. You're going to end up in the penitentiary. You're going to end up in gangs. You're going to end up stealing. You're going to end up robbing. And you're going to have a similar story to mine, or probably even worse, or probably you can't even, it's so bad you can't even tell it. So if you got a story
Yeah.
now, be thankful. And so let your voice be heard. The little bit that you say can change a life. And that's what I'm doing now, is sharing what I got. And I do this every day, 24 hours a day. I take no days off because the mission don't stop. God never takes a day off. So don't never think that when you become that man of mission for God, you can't take a day off. You got to work hard. You got to dedicate your life. Dedicate yourself to this and watch what God has in store for you. Romans 8:28. All things work for the good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. I don't stand on business. I stand on truth.
Ain't no truth. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, what's the social media? How we can reach out to you on either Facebook or Instagram, or do you have a website we can go to?
Well, most of my stuff is on uh, Facebook. I
Okay.
use Facebook, my, my main thing. You can find everything. When you go on Facebook, you can find everything about me. Everything about
Okay.
me. You go on
So,
Greg, that's Greg G. Command, Command. You find me on Facebook. You find my work. You find the things that I'm doing. You find some of my young boys. I got 4 coaches, and I got a bunch of men that I work with now. The little David, which is myself now, come out and run a multitude of people and lead them to the promised land.
good. Yeah. That is awesome, brother Commander. Look here, man. Once again, I done lost you. I'm not gonna say nothing. There we go. There we go. I wasn't gonna say nothing until I got you back on screen with me. I appreciate you, brother. From one man to another, I love you. I love your story. Everything that you are doing in North Carolina for the youth in the area. Anything that we can do on our end to help get that messaging out. We're here in support of you. I have to thank my brother Terry Allred for connecting us and making that connection with what you have going on. And it's been another great episode of Industry Talk here on Primetime Pod. Big shout out to my internet family with my man E, CEO with Boss Talk Podcast 101, my sister Miss Jamaica, and the entire crew. Look, I appreciate you, Greg. And we're going to have you back, my brother. I can assure you of that. And as always, it's about health, wealth, and wellness. Stay dangerous, people. Stay dangerous. Yes, indeed, all the time. You've been locked into another great episode of Primetime Pod. Major salute to our guest. And remember, ain't no time like primetime. This is your main man, Big G, with Industry Talk. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to our network, Primetime Pod. And as always, beautiful people, it's about health, wealth, and wellness.
Primetime Pod. Make sure you check it out.
Why the fuck you think he missing? He say
And Centerville's a whole lot.
now I'm not trying to get a little messy with you.
Time is money.
They go trap.